Hi, everybody, and welcome into another Solid Orange Conversation brought to us and dedicated to our friends at Prisma Health and all the fine healthcare professionals that are out there. Don Munson, along with John Rittman, our softball coach. First and foremost, Coach, good to see you. Hope that you and your family are doing well.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, we're doing well, all things considered, and hope all is well with you and your family.
As I like to say, we have not drawn blood at the Munson household yet, and that's a good thing from that standpoint. So we're doing all well. So obviously everybody knows that softball made it through, a good portion of the season, but didn't make it really, I guess, really stop even before the halfway point, I guess, when you look at it, Coach. So if you could just, let's talk a little bit about the season that was, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about Team One here. But man, the year that you all were putting together, I was very fortunate to help put together the top 20 moments in softball, including the number one moment, which I got the broadcast, which was a win over Georgia, the 14th ranked team in the country. But man, what a year one for Clemson softball.
Yeah, a lot of work went into year one, obviously, and a lot of preparation by a lot of people. And, certainly, when we look back and reflect on this year, it was a very special year for everybody that was involved with our program. We started the season a little slow. We had a few bumps in the road. And I think as a coach, you always ask your team to just improve and make adjustments. And we did that. We had some good leadership, and we didn't panic early in the season with a couple of tough losses and games that we felt like we should have won. And, our pitching staff started to come together, and we had some very good hitters in the middle of the lineup that were protected by some good hitters at the top and the bottom of the lineup. And, when we started playing a little bit better defense, we strung together some wins and really protected our house. We had a great home record this year and got on a couple of winning streaks. And, so there was a lot to be proud of. I think a lot of credit goes to our players, the way they performed and the way they made adjustments during the year. And certainly one of the things we pride ourselves on is being a coach-fed, player-led program. And we are fortunate to have the type of players in our program that, took the team by the hand and kind of led us through a couple of rough patches and ended up, getting on a really hot streak, and then unfortunately about halfway through the season, it abruptly ended.
Yeah, unfortunately it did. Take me back to game one, though. You think about Logan Kamall getting out there throwing the very first pitch. She ends up throwing a complete game for you. It was a winner. So the program starts with a win. It happened in the state of Florida, but do you still, I'm sure you still have memories of that first game, but what was like that first game really like after all the time of building up to it?
Certainly there was a lot of anticipation up to game one and really how you're going to react to every first, and you really start thinking about all the positives, the first hit, the first strikeout, the first home run, the first RBI. And then you kind of realize, well, there's going to be some negatives too, who gives up the first home run, who's the first kid to strike out, but we tried to keep it all in perspective and have fun with it. That was the most important thing is as a coach, you prepare. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of people that helped us get ready for this inaugural season. And, game one was kind of just the start of it all. And as a coach, you prepare your team and our staff did a great job in preparing our team to start the season. And, really as a staff, we were pretty relaxed game one. It was really a lot of emotion to see everything kind of come to fruition and finally be on the field in the uniform and play the game. Kind of surreal feeling. And then to go out and watch our team compete at a high level and win that first game was really special.
So would you say that the expectations, Coach, let's be real honest. This because you and I talked about the expectations for this year were unbelievable. First and foremost. And yet your girls found a way to meet those expectations, I think, and in a lot of respects exceed expectations, considering particularly when you had some of the injuries that you had to go through.
Yeah, any team has to go through some adversity, and we dealt with some prior to the season even starting. We had our senior transfer, Ansley Gilstrap, had season-ending surgery in December, and she was penciled in to be our leadoff hitter and our starting shortstop, and she's gone before the season even starts. And then the first weekend, we lose our starting right fielder at the time, Morgan Johnson. I think it was the 5th game of the season. She tears her ACL, and then a week later, we lose one of our top utility players, Madison May, to season-ending injury. So we're 2 weeks into the season. We've already lost 3 players, and certainly, like I mentioned earlier, we had some bumps in the road, and part of any good team is how you overcome adversity, and we did that. And then in regards to the expectation, listen, we as coaches, we work hard, we prepare our team the best of our ability, and then it's up to the team to go out and play. And, our coaching staff did a great job of kind of keeping those expectations real and, being honest with the team, and the fact that our biggest expectation is that we build a foundation for this program. We want to really work on our culture this year. We want to live by our core values, and then let the wins and losses happen. And I think that actually took a little pressure off of our team. Not that, our players didn't press at certain times early in the season. But when you really don't really think about the wins and losses, and you think about kind of the process and taking care of that, then you're pretty relaxed, and you can let the pieces fall a little bit.
Can you afford to let yourself play the what if game? I mean, what if the season had been completed? We still obviously be playing right now. So you wouldn't be that far away from heading off to an ACC tournament, then maybe even an NCAA tournament berth, which seems almost unfathomable in year one. Do you let yourself play that what if game?
Oh, definitely. I think you drive yourself crazy with the what if game, but certainly every day we wake up and go to bed, and we're thinking about softball and what a great season we had. And when the season ended, we were getting ready to get on a bus to go to Georgia Tech. So it was going to be our first road series and a test going against a good Georgia Tech team. You'd hope we could go down there and win the series, and we were on a roll. I think our freshman pitching staff was kind of coming into their own and starting to pitch a little bit more relaxed and control the zone a little bit, control the game a little bit. Our defense, like I mentioned earlier, was starting to play a lot better. And offensively, we were scoring runs against anybody, so as a coach, you certainly play that what if game, and it would have been fun to see how this year played out. That's for sure.
Well, you go back and you talk about how you all were playing at home and the home winning streak that you had and the win record and that kind of stuff. One thing we knew for sure is that Clemson fans were going to show up, but they showed up en masse, right about 1,500 fans per game. I mean, the atmosphere was electric.
No question, and it from fan day to our first game, and then it just carried on. The momentum kind of carried on throughout the season. It was just special. And our players and our coaches and support staff were just so grateful for the opportunity to play in front of our fans and to get that kind of support. Nobody really knew what to expect, until we put the season tickets for sale and those sold out, so we knew we were going to have some support. But playing an outdoor sport in South Carolina in February, the weather can be a little iffy, and they supported us through rain, through cold wind. I mean, they were out there supporting, and so we're very blessed to be able to be at Clemson and play in front of such wonderful fans. And, it was definitely a home field advantage. And let's not kid ourselves. A lot of those wins at home were come from behind wins where we were down in the game and came back to win game. We had a couple of walk-off wins, and those are special. And I think those build even more interest with our fans, and people want to come out and see, softball played at a high level. And then it's very entertaining for them as well. I think we did put on a good show, and so we're looking forward to that continued support moving forward. And, it's just a special, unique facility. And like I said, just grateful for the opportunity to play in front of the fans, and just a little side note, that first game against Western Carolina, we pretty much everybody on our team has never played in front of that atmosphere, including our upperclassmen who transferred to Clemson, and so we look back at that first, doubleheader in the stadium, and it was very kind of a surreal feeling that entire game. Is it real? We had to pinch ourselves, and then we had to settle down and let the nerves kind of get out of us a little bit, get the butterflies out, and finally settled down and played really well in the second game of that doubleheader.
Yeah, you actually had a couple of girls I remember that actually said that they were caught themselves looking in the stands during that first home game because of all the people that they were playing in front of. But the great thing about it was how comfortable they got as the season wore along and as home games started building upon. They came out, they fed off the energy off of that crowd. And I think that your team really took pride in performing at their best in front of the home folks.
No question, and I think, like I said earlier, it takes a little bit of experience when to play in front of that type of crowd, that type of atmosphere. When they're supporting you, it's a little bit easier, but still there's a lot of nerves. And like I said, a lot of our players had never played in front of that type of electric atmosphere and in front of that many people. So really special and proud of our team, the way they, rallied behind it and used the fan support to help them get a few wins when we were behind in a lot of the games this year.
No doubt about it. I know it's a team game, but you had some individuals, Coach, that were on their way probably in picking up some postseason accolades. I mean, you had some girls that individually were really putting together tremendous years.
No question about it. It starts with, our offense from top to bottom, everybody produced. And that was what was special about this team. We knew that was going to be a strength as our offense. When you look at Cami Pereira as a leadoff hitter, Grace Matamore, great eye in the two hole, good barrel control, could hit the ball with power. I think she led the ACC in doubles this year. Great on base percentage. She took her walks, didn't strike out a whole lot. And then you get to the meat of our lineup, with Valerie Cagle in the three hole, tremendous power, hit for average. And then Marissa Gombarda behind her led I think second in the nation in home runs. And Valerie was right behind her. And then you have MK Bonamy and Hannah Goodwin behind them. So it was very hard to pitch around, 3 and 4, Gombarda and Cagle, when you got Goodwin and Bonamy behind them. And then the bottom part of our lineup, Logaleo, who got healthy, was hitting above 350. And then Bailey Taylor at third base gave us a lot of pop in that 8 hole. And then JoJo Hyatt is our catcher in the 9 hole, ended the season right under 300 and was a very clutch hitter for us. So our offense was, it was a bright spot of our team this year. And, the two players that really stood out on the national level statistically were Gombarda and Cagle, and I do feel like had the season continued, they would have been up for a lot of postseason awards. And, but they couldn't have done it without, the Pereiras and the Matamores and the Goodwin and Bonamy protecting them in the middle of the lineup. So it was nice to see our offense play really well this year.
All right, so what's going on right now? How are you going about staying in touch with everybody? Because everybody's spread out. So I know that, obviously much more tech savvy all of us have become thanks to Zoom and other meeting platforms that are like that. But so tell us, what are you doing just to stay in touch with the gals as one, they kind of finish up this semester and then start heading into the summer?
Well, right when our season ended, we were getting ready to start our spring break. And, obviously, it was a shock to everybody that our season had ended, and us as players and coaches, we were in shock, So I think the best thing we did is we let them go for spring break once we found out the season was canceled officially, and let them go home to their families. And this was really early on in this pandemic, so there was still a lot of uncertainty, and told them that we would get back in touch with them, within the week to let them know, what our plan was moving forward. So it was a tough situation, but we let them go home to be with their families. And, you know, and then after that week was over, we really started, you know, chatting with our team through GroupMe, through text messages, and really through this Zoom app, which has been very beneficial to see players' faces and really stay in touch with our team. But we told them our number one priority was our academics, you know, and it's unfortunate the season ended. There's not much we can do about it. And as an athlete, you know, there's some things you control and some things you can't control. And this was one of the things that was out of our control. And so we really had to work hard at staying positive and staying patient through this whole process. But again, we just emphasize, hey, this is a great opportunity for our team to really improve in the classroom. You know, there's no season, there's no mandatory practices. You can really buckle down on your schoolwork and let's improve in the classroom and really work hard there. And then as this thing kind of kept going, you know, then we came to the reality of, okay, we've had time to unwind a little bit. Now let's start talking softball again. And so we have a great support staff that has put together a lot of information for our team in regards to our strength and conditioning staff. Ryan Metzger sent out some information for our players to do workouts at home. Our coaching staff, working with Katie Rovtar, our athletic trainer, has made sure that our players have the bands necessary to keep their arms in shape, and gave them a throwing and hitting progression that they can use, you know, to hit and throw, however they, whatever they have available to them, just to give them some options so they can stay in shape and we can start getting better and looking forward to playing next year.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, that looking ahead at 2021, roster management becomes something for you, you know, and obviously there's still the little bit of the uncertainty, but, you know, as you look ahead, what's the thoughts as you look ahead to what will be team number 2?
You know, it's really a lot of thought has been put into our roster going into the inaugural season, trying to get more on a transition of turning over, you know, players 3 to 5 players a year instead of bringing in, you know, a ton of players and then 4 years later trying to replace a ton. And with this whole pandemic and extended eligibility, it kind of threw a wrench in our plan a little bit. So believe it or not, JoJo, Logan Camel, Ariel Oda, and Carly Shannon will all be in their 3rd year of college, but be freshmen eligibility-wise, you know. And then we have our 8 freshmen this year that will be freshmen again next year. And then we have 7 coming in the class of 20, you know. So we're going to have 19 freshmen on our team next year, with which completely threw a wrench in our plan of, you know, trying to get the roster on a more manageable turnover point, I guess, lack of a better word. But the good news is we got a lot of experience coming back and a lot of great players. And so we'll look at how we manage the roster and how we move forward with this. But I think, you know, from a coaching standpoint and looking at our players, we're going to have a lot more depth. So we're going to have to, you know, we'll be able to handle the injuries a little bit better. And we're going to have a very talented team returning and a lot of experience returning now.
All right, so tell me a little bit about John Rittman now at home. So what's been going on there? What kind of unique talent have you discovered about yourself, or you said, okay, I'm gonna, you know, are you picking up a guitar? Are you picking up a paintbrush? Were you working out in the yard? What's going on with you? What interests have you taken up while you've had a little bit of extra time on your hands?
Well, you know, it's really interesting that the way our day is made up now. We're still active, we're still working, we're still getting a lot of things done. With social media and GroupMe and text, and a lot of professional development. I'll tell you that, Don. I've got a lot of professional development, which has helped us and our staff, and probably pay dividends next year moving forward. We'll have a lot more information to help us be better coaches. I know that. But from a personal standpoint, my youngest son is home from Notre Dame. And so he's continuing his schooling, and he plays football there. So he's got workouts, and we've had to make do and buy some dumbbells and some different, you know, workout things. So I've actually started doing a little lifting again, not strenuous, but a little bit of lifting. And luckily I have an elliptical on my porch in my backyard. And so I've been keeping my cardio up and doing a little bit more cooking, helping my wife around the house. So we're trying to be positive and make the most of this and really enjoy our family time.
Well, you tell your son Clemson football is coming in November. All right,
Oh,
it's
I
coming to
know.
South Bend, and it's coming full bore. We're
I know.
up there for that. Looking forward to that. Hey, great to see you. Glad to see that you're doing well. Going to give you a big bear hug when I see you. I keep telling everybody that there ain't gonna be no handshakes when I get to see everybody again. It's gonna be full embrace. So, but all the best to you and your family.
Hey, thanks, Don. I look forward to that hug, and it was great talking with you. I always love it, and when we get back together, we'll certainly have fun. I know that. So, as always, go Tigers.
Absolutely. There's our Solid Orange Conversations brought to you by Prisma Health and all the great healthcare providers that are out there. For John Rittman, I'm Don Munson. Go Tigers.